So next, we are going to start a new Android project. So we click on Start Android Project. Be a bit patient. Now, you always get choose your project and you get project types. You've got no activity, basic activity, empty, and so on and so forth. Obviously, there are a multitude of ways of opening up different types of projects. For the example that I want to give you, it's a very, very simple click the screen, move to another screen type project. So we want to get that basic architecture in place. In order to do that, we don't need a basic activity, we don't need bottom navigation and any of these other features. You can always add things in later. We are going to go for an empty project. Empty project just basically gives you a blank screen to work with. So select empty project, click on next. You come to this rather important screen. Now, there are a couple of important things. You can't have gaps in the name. So we need to remove the name, remove the gap. Now, I would name your project something that's quite useful for you. I'm unimaginatively going to call it My Application 1. Now here, the package name, this com.example.myapplication, is closely related to the concept of packages and namespaces. You can just leave this as it is and change it later. It won't be a real problem. Later on, you might want to change this as you build more applications and you look for commercial possibilities with your application. But we'll come back to that. The location. Now, this is a local, as you can see, the path is in my local Android Studio projects folder. Now, if you are working on the university system, you should move this location onto the N drive. The reason for that is that it will preserve your own working files, and you hopefully will know that to be the case with your previous study with Java files and with Python files. So because for demonstration purposes, and this is a standalone laptop I'm working on, I'm going to keep this path as it is. But remember, that path is quite crucial. Make it as accessible if you're going to work on the university systems to do it. If it's your own machine at home, make sure that you also back that location up. You'll notice it automatically puts the name of the application to the end of the location there. And there's a folder button here which you can click, and that can take you to a new area. Now the language, this one is going to Kotlin. We want Java. There are two basic languages that you can work in this platform. Kotlin is a relatively recent development. We don't need it in our particular case. We want to rely on Java code syntax. I often don't play with the minimum API level, API 15, Android 4.03. I usually leave this alone and rely on the fact that it's defaulted to 1, which will run on, as it says, 100% of devices. Now, what will make this project quite tricky for you and the work you do here is that you will end up configuring a lot of these types of values later. But we'll come back to that later. Okay, so we've done that. We're not worried about making it an instant support. And remember, it creates a new empty project. So we click Finish. I'll try to click Finish. There we go. And give it a moment and it loads up. Now, it's important while it's loading up to make sure that you pay attention to the bar at the bottom. We don't really want that screen there, so we can get that out of the way. At the bottom, you'll notice here, if you can see where the cursor's moving, it has to unzip various different packages to run your mobile Android application. Now, you have to be patient. Right at the bottom, on the bottom right-hand corner, it says 2 processes running. My advice to you is initially, when you first boot it up on a machine, it will take time. So just let it get on with it and see if there are any issues with the build. If there are, you need support and you need to kind of sort them out first. Just like any environment, the Android Studio environment has a pane here on the right hand side where you'll write your code. This pane on the left hand side is where you have your project file and where all the files sit and how to get access to it. This section at the bottom tells you information about when you run it, when you build it, and so on. The menu at the top is fairly standard, and we will come to it as and when we need it. Over here, right on the top right, you'll see the grayed out at the moment. There's a play button, no devices, add configuration. So we'll stop this video here and allow it to get on and just do this. And then when we come back for the next, there we go. So we have things like this: Windows Fire Open JDK platform. You need to allow access to the JDK to run it. Now, this may be a problem for me here, so I may need to get extra permission. So you can see this is a university system. Your Apps Anywhere version shouldn't have this problem if you use it. I will get that permission sorted and get those. If I just hit no for that for the time being, I will sort that out by just getting local permission, because this is a university laptop and I need to get admin permission to make that run. But basically you need to allow access for the JDK platform library and so on and so forth. So be patient with this stage. Don't rush to thinking if you're not writing lines of code or designing it, you're wasting your time. That's not true. And to be successful with Android Studio, you have to work slowly and patiently with these types of issues.